Rain mist drifted across Helios Spindle, a giant floating city hanging high above a roaring gas planet. The metal walkways shook from wind and tram engines far below. People rushed home after long shifts, heads down, eyes on their wrist screens. No one talked. No one stopped. Everyone just wanted to reach their warm rooms before night cycle. But Mira Holt kept looking back. Her little sister Tali skipped behind her, tapping glowing floor panels with her boots. Watch me, she said, hopping from light to light. Stay close, Mira warned. It's slippery. I won't fall. Tali laughed. Mira was tired. School had been long, and she still had homework waiting. She just wanted to reach their small home on deck 22, until she noticed something strange ahead. A small gap had opened in the moving crowd. People sped up. Some turned their heads away. Some pretended to check their wrist displays. That always meant one thing on Helios Spindle. Someone nobody wanted to help was sitting nearby. Why is everyone avoiding that place? Tali whispered. Mira slowly led them closer. Inside a shadowy service alcove, half hidden behind a vent, a woman sat on the metal floor with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked freezing. Mist clung to her skin and long silver hair, leaving it soaked and tangled. Her skin was a deep midnight blue, glowing softly with pale lines that ran along her arms and cheeks. A thin, torn work shift hung off one shoulder. Her feet were bare. Both ankles were marked with raw red bruises, like something tight had been locked around them. Tali grabbed Myra's sleeve. She's glowing, she whispered. The woman lifted her head when she heard them. Her eyes were a soft green, tired but alert. She tried to sit straighter, pretending she wasn't shaking. You should keep walking, she said in a low, cracked voice. People don't like anyone stopping here. Mira felt a twist in her chest. The woman looked hungry, cold, and scared, but still trying to protect two strangers. Are you okay? Mira asked gently. I'm fine, the woman lied. Her hands trembled. She held her arms tight around herself. She looked ready to collapse. A group of workers passed behind them. One man slowed, staring at her bare legs. Shouldn't sit here, he muttered. Probably trouble. The woman's jaw tightened. She looked down, ashamed. Mira couldn't stand it. She opened her backpack and took out half a protein flat she had saved for later. Her stomach growled. She was hungry, but the woman looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Here, Mira said, holding out the food. Take it. The woman hesitated. She stared at the food like she didn't deserve it. Then she took it with both hands, careful, almost scared someone might grab it away. She ate in tiny bites, slow and silent. Tali whispered, She's so cold. What's your name? Mira asked. The woman looked up. Her voice was barely a breath. Celine. Mira nodded. I'm Mira. This is Tali. Our home is close. And warm. Celine tried to stand, but her legs shook so hard, she almost slipped. Instinct took over. Mira stepped under her arm to support her. Tali grabbed Celine's hand with both of hers. People watched them. Some frowned. Some whispered. But no one stopped them. They started walking toward deck 22. Mira didn't know what her father would say. She didn't know what danger followed this woman. But she knew one thing. Leaving her there would have been wrong. The hallway lights brightened as they reached their door. The panel slid open with a soft chime. Warm air spilled out. And standing there, tall, tired, and shocked, was Rian Holt, their father. His eyes moved from Mira to Tali, then to the trembling blue-skinned woman leaning on them. He froze. Everything in the Holt family was about to change. Rian Holt stood in the doorway, rain mist still clinging to his jacket. He had seen many things during his years as a medic on outer belt stations, but nothing like this. A frightened, glowing, blue-skinned woman leaning on his daughters. Mira spoke first, her voice shaky. Dad, she was alone. She was freezing. Nobody helped her. Tali added quickly. She didn't even have shoes. Rian didn't move. His eyes swept over the woman with calm, trained focus. The damp hair, the thin clothes, the bruised ankles, the way she breathed in small, painful shivers. He stepped forward slowly. What's your name? He asked. The woman swallowed hard. Celine. Her voice was soft, tired, ready to break. Rian nodded once. Come inside. Celine hesitated at the threshold as if afraid she wasn't allowed. Only after Mira guided her did she step into the warm apartment. The Holt home was small, cluttered, and full of life. A half-broken drone sat on the table. Tali's drawings covered the fridge. A small plant leaned toward the heater, fighting to stay alive. To Celine, it felt unreal, too safe, too warm. Her legs gave out slightly, and Rian caught her elbow before she fell. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "Sit." Celine sat on the edge of the couch, keeping her knees together, hands tightly clasped. She looked like she expected someone to yell at her any moment. Mira rushed to close the door. Tali ran to get a blanket. Rian kept his eyes on Celine. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Celine shook her head quickly. "I'm fine. I don't want to cause trouble. I can leave after I rest for a minute." "You're not leaving," Rian said, firm but not unkind. She looked surprised, almost afraid of kindness. Mira came back with a small blanket and draped it over Celine's shoulders. The woman froze at the touch, then slowly let out a breath of relief. Tali returned with a cup of warm water, holding it with both hands. "Here, you can drink this." Celine accepted it carefully. Her hands were trembling so much the cup almost slipped. Rian crouched in front of her, close enough to help but far enough not to scare her. "How long were you outside?" he asked. Celine stared at the floor. "Since morning," she whispered. "Maybe longer." "Why?" That one question made her whole body tense. "I left the place where I lived," she said. "I had no choice. I ran." From the bruises on her ankles, Rian could guess what kind of place it had been. He softened his voice. "You're safe here now." Celine blinked slowly, as if she didn't understand the word safe. Mira sat beside her. "Are people chasing you?" Celine hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the cup. "I don't know," she said finally. "But if they find me, it won't be good." Rian stood and walked to the heater, adjusting its level to warm the room faster. His daughters watched him carefully. They knew that look. It was the same one he used when someone was hurt at the station. When he turned back to Celine, his voice was steady, certain. "You're staying here tonight. No arguments." Celine shook her head, panic flickering in her eyes. "I can't. People will talk. I don't want to bring danger to your family." Rian crossed his arms. "My girls brought you home. That's the only reason I need." Celine didn't know what to say. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time. The apartment fell quiet for a moment. The storm belts of the gas planet glowed softly through the window, casting dim light over the room. Rian cleared his throat. "Mira, heat some food. Tali, get her one of the spare shirts. She needs to warm up." Celine shook her head again, overwhelmed. "You don't even know me." Rian looked directly into her eyes. "Maybe not," he said, "but I know someone in danger when I see them." For the first time, Celine looked less like a stranger and more like someone who might finally have a place to rest. The scene closed with the smell of warm food filling the air, Mira stirring a pot in the small kitchen, and Celine sitting wrapped in a blanket, still trembling, but no longer alone. Morning light crept through the thin window of the Holt apartment, painting soft lines across the floor. The storm clouds below the city glowed faint blue, rising and falling like slow ocean waves. Celine opened her eyes slowly. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Warm room, soft blanket, quiet air, no alarms. Then she remembered. Mira, Tali, and the man with calm eyes who didn't push her away. She sat up carefully. Every muscle in her body felt tired, but not the dangerous kind of tired, the safe kind. The kind she hadn't felt in years. Rian was already in the kitchen, cooking something that smelled warm and smoky. Mira sat beside him, watching with half-closed eyes. Tali, still in pajamas, was drawing pictures of silver-haired alien women on the table. Mira noticed Celine first. "She's awake." Tali jumped up. "Celine, come eat. Dad didn't burn the food today." Rian raised an eyebrow. "I heard that." Celine smiled, small, shy, unsure, but real. She walked carefully to the table. Rian pulled out a chair for her. Celine hesitated before sitting, as if she wasn't sure she was allowed. "You can sit," Rian said gently. "You're a guest." Guest. That word hit her harder than she expected. Tali pushed a plate toward her. Warm bread, small slices of spiced meat, a scoop of soft fruit mash. "Eat before Mira steals it." "I don't steal," Mira muttered. "I borrow." Celine took a small bite. The warmth filled her chest. She closed her eyes. Food usually meant fear, working long hours for a small bowl, or being watched while eating. Here, it meant kindness. Rian watched her quietly. Not suspicious, just checking if she was okay. After a while, he sat across from her. "You said you ran," he said, voice calm. "From what?" Celine's hands froze around the cup. The girls went silent. It's all right, Rian said softly. You don't have to tell me everything. Just what matters. She looked down at her bruised ankles. I worked on dock level 3, she said slowly. Cleaning, serving, carrying crates. It was supposed to be a legal job. Supposed to? Mira asked. Celine nodded. Things changed. The man who controlled the work areas. He started calling us debt workers. He said our pay was too low to cover our food and bed. So we owed him. Every day. Rian's jaw tightened. Celine continued, voice quieter. If someone complained, their door lock changed. Their rations stopped. Some people disappeared. Tali clutched Myra's arm. Did he hurt you? Rian asked calmly. Celine shook her head. Not him. But his men took turns watching the sleeping rooms. One day, the power glitched. Doors opened for a few minutes. People panicked. I ran. I kept running until my feet bled. Her voice cracked at the end. She covered her mouth quickly, ashamed. No one spoke for a moment. Rian reached across the table and gently moved her hands aside. You did the right thing, he said. If you hadn't run, you might not be here at all. Celine looked away, blinking hard. Mira placed a hand on Celine's shoulder. You don't have to go back there, she said softly. You're not alone. Celine's breath shook. You don't understand. They look for people. They send watchers. Little drones. They know how to track anyone who escapes. The room froze. Track? Rian asked. Celine nodded. If they find out where I am, I don't know what they'll do. Rian stood slowly and walked to a drawer. From inside, he pulled out an old, scratched field tablet, military grade, with a cracked corner and worn buttons. Celine watched him, confused. He tapped on the screen. A map of Helios spindle appeared. Levels, walkways, vents, security nodes. You're not going anywhere until we know what we're dealing with, Rian said. I don't ignore danger. I prepare for it. Mira and Tali looked up at him, comforted. They had seen this mode before. The old medic, the protector, the man who faced storms outside and inside the station. Celine's markings glowed faintly from fear and something else. Hope. Rian pulled up the security feed list and checked timestamps. Tell me if you saw any watchers last night, he said. Celine nodded. A small drone. Black design. One red light. It hovered near your door before you came home. Rian's eyes sharpened. He zoomed into Deck 22's outer corridor. He found it. A tiny floating drone, barely visible, passing their door. Twice. Celine covered her mouth. They found me. Rian shook his head. No. They saw something. But they don't know what yet. He locked the door and lowered the blinds. Celine, he said quietly, you're safe here. But if they want to fight, he looked at the screen again, eyes cold and steady. They picked the wrong family. By midday, Helios spindle was buzzing. Machines roared in the service shafts. Vendors shouted about fresh bread, and trams clattered along glowing rails. Mira and Tali were at school, leaving the apartment strangely quiet. Celine stood near the door, twisting the sleeve of her borrowed shirt. You don't have to take me out, she said softly. I can stay inside today. Rian shook his head as he zipped his jacket. You need shoes. And real clothes. You're not hiding forever. Celine hesitated. But people will stare. Let them, Rian replied. I've handled worse. She tried to smile, but fear pulled at her eyes. They took the tram to Market Tier 5, one of the safer walkways, filled with bright stalls and polished metal floors. The lights reflected off Celine's blue skin, making her look even more noticeable. People noticed. Some slowed. Some whispered. Some looked at Rian, then back at Celine, assuming the worst. Celine kept her eyes low, hands pulled into her sleeves. She walked close, matching Rian's steady pace. At the shoe stall, the vendor frowned the moment he saw her. No alien sizes here, he muttered. Clearance bins in the back if you're desperate. Celine stopped, ready to leave. It's fine, she whispered. We can go. Rian didn't move. He stepped forward and placed both hands on the counter. Measure her properly, he said calmly. I'm paying full. The vendor stiffened. Sir, these models are human standard. Measure, Rian repeated. The man swallowed and obeyed. Celine looked confused. You didn't have to do that. Rian handed her a pair of soft black walking shoes. Yes, I did. She tried them on. They fit almost perfectly. Her eyes softened, touched by a kindness she didn't expect. Next, they approached a clothing stall. Simple shirts. Strong trousers. Nothing flashy. Celine touched a soft gray top, amazed by how clean it felt. You can take it, Rian said. Celine shook her head. It's too much. I'm all ready. You're rebuilding, he said. Not begging. She held the shirt to her chest, as if it were fragile. But then, a voice cut through the air. Well, look at this. A man in a dark jacket stepped into their path. Same face, same smirk, same cold eyes Rian recognized from lower decks. Celine froze. Her markings dimmed in fear. The man looked her up and down. Drex, said one of his workers, ran. Didn't think she'd run straight into the arms of a deck tech. Rian stepped slightly forward, blocking Celine from the man's view. She's not your worker. The man laughed. She owes us. She signed a contract. What kind of contract chains someone's ankles? Rian said, voice low and sharp. Oh, come on. The man chuckled. She knows the rules down there. Celine flinched at his voice. Rian noticed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't get angry. He just stepped closer until he was within arm's reach. You threaten her again, Rian said quietly. And we settle this on a level with cameras. The man's smirk faded. You're making a mistake, Holt. Good, Rian replied. I'm used to those. The man backed away slowly, eyes still locked on Celine like a predator forced to retreat. As soon as he disappeared, Celine's knees almost gave out. She leaned on a display rack to steady herself. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to bring danger to you. Rian placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You didn't bring danger, he said. Danger was already here. You just made it visible. Celine took a shaky breath. For the first time since they left the apartment, she lifted her head and actually looked around. Clothes, shoes, lights, people who weren't shouting at her. Rian walking beside her. A path she didn't have before. She whispered, almost to herself, I don't know why you're helping me. Rian shrugged lightly. My daughters brought you home, he said. That's all the reason I need. Celine stared at him for a long second, her eyes warm with something she hadn't felt in years. Something like hope. The day should have ended quietly. Mira finished her homework early. Tali built a tower with old drone parts. Celine helped Rian repair a broken heater strip, watching his hands carefully, trying to learn. For a few hours, the apartment felt almost normal. But on Helio's spindle, peace never lasts long. As evening settled, a warning signal blinked faintly on Rian's wall panel, an alert he had personally installed long ago. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. But he knew what it meant. Someone was standing too close to their door. Rian stiffened. Celine noticed immediately. Is something wrong? She whispered. He shook his head once, signaling her to stay calm, and walked to the door. He didn't open it. He listened. Muffled voices. Heavy boots. A low laugh that didn't sound friendly. Celine's markings dimmed in fear. They're here, she breathed. Drex's men. I know that sound. Mira froze. Tali clutched Celine's hand. Rian placed a finger on his lips, telling them to stay silent. He unlatched the manual lock with a soft click, quiet but firm, and positioned himself right behind the door frame. Then came the knock. Not a request. A demand. Open up, Holt, a voice barked. We just want to talk to the girl you're hiding. Celine's grip tightened on Tali's hand. Rian didn't reply. Another voice spoke, lower and meaner. She ran from her contract. She owes time. She belongs to Doc 3. You know how it works. Rian stepped forward, standing between the door and his family. No one here belongs to you, he said, voice steady. The man on the other side scoffed. She's Lyran. No registration. No sponsor. No job slip. She's nothing but a runaway debt worker. And you're interfering. Rian's jaw clenched. Leave, he said. Now. A short silence followed. Then the door handle shook violently. Celine flinched backward. Mira grabbed her by the arm, pulling her behind the table. Tali whispered, Daddy, are they going to break in? Not tonight, Rian said. The door banged again. Harder. Rian's voice dropped into the tone he once used on battlefield med-evacs. Calm. Controlled. Unshakable. I'm giving you one warning, he said. Step away from my door. On the other side, a man cursed. Then metal scraped against metal. A tool. They were trying to force the lock. Celine gasped. They'll take me. Please, I can't go back. Rian moved faster than she expected. He pressed a button under the small shelf near the door. A hidden battering bar inside the frame slammed into place with a loud clamp. The men outside shouted in surprise. Rian didn't waste a second. He grabbed his old field tablet and tapped a security code. A blue light flashed above the door. Alert mode. Recording mode. Station evidence mode. You want to force entry? He called out. Do it on camera. Instant silence. He stepped closer to the door, voice calm but sharp as a blade. Security sees everything now. Keep going and you'll answer for it. A man hissed. This isn't over, Holt. Rian replied. Then come back in daylight. And bring a legal contract. Not chains. Boots shuffled. The men whispered angrily. Then the hallway fell quiet as they retreated down the corridor. Rian waited 10 long seconds before unlocking the bar. He didn't open the door, just checked the outside cam feed. They were gone. The apartment stayed silent. Finally, he turned back to his daughters and Celine. Myra's eyes were wide. Tali was shaking. Celine looked like someone pulled her out of deep water and set her on land where she didn't trust her own legs. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't want you all dragged into this. Rian stepped toward her. This isn't your fault, he said. The only fault is theirs. But they'll come again, Celine said. Let them, Rian replied. Next time, security will meet them too. Celine stared at him in disbelief. No one had ever stood between her and danger. No one had ever said, let them come, and meant it. Mira walked over and hugged Celine around the waist. You're staying with us, she said firmly. Dad won't let anything happen. Tali hugged her from the other side. Yeah, you're part of the Holt team now. Celine looked at them. These small humans, fearless in their own way, and her eyes filled with tears. Then she looked at Rian. He didn't smile. He didn't make a speech. He simply nodded, a soldier's promise. You're safe here, he said. As long as I breathe. For the first time since she ran from the lower decks, Celine believed him. The next morning, Helios' spindle looked calm. Too calm. Trams moved. Vendors shouted. Life continued like nothing happened the night before. But Rian felt it in his bones. The silence was wrong. It was the silence of people watching but pretending not to. Celine sat at the dining table, hands wrapped around a warm cup. She hadn't slept much. Every time the air vents hissed, she flinched. Mira and Tali sat close to her, whispering jokes, trying to keep the air light. Rian put on his work jacket and checked the hallway camera again. No one stood outside, but there was a small, blinking message on his door panel. Report to Central Admin, mandatory. Celine's markings dimmed instantly. They called you in? Because of me? It's fine, Rian said. This was expected. No, Celine whispered. If they question you, if they threaten your girls. Rian shook his head firmly. Nothing is happening to my girls. Or to you. Central Admin. Central Admin was the exact opposite of the lower decks. Bright white walls, clean air, and silent hallways guarded by polite officers who never raised their voices. Rian entered a room with a single long table. Screens hovered around the walls, each showing small clips of station activity. A man in a dark uniform waited there, hands folded neatly. Mr. Holt, he said, voice overly calm. I am Director Varen. Rian nodded once. No handshake. Varen tapped a screen. Footage appeared, last night's forced entry attempt. Drex's men pounding the door. The shock tool. Rian's block. The threat. You sent this to the emergency system, Varen said. You understand the weight of such alerts? Do you understand the weight of someone trying to kidnap a woman from my door? Rian replied. Varen gave a thin, practiced smile. These men work in logistics. Maybe they had a misunderstanding with this alien guest of yours. Rian felt his fists tighten. Those men had shock batons. They forced a lock. And she had bruises from restraints. Varen sighed as if this conversation bored him. He tapped another screen. Footage of Celine appeared, sitting on Rian's couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking fragile and frightened. Does she have identification? Varen asked. No. Work permit? No. Registered housing? No. Varen clasped his hands. Then by station law, she is an undocumented laborer. Without a sponsor, she has no legal coverage. She could be returned to whoever hired her. Rian stepped closer. His voice was low but sharp. You're telling me the station supports slavery. Varen's smile faded. I am telling you the station supports order. And contracts. Contracts don't leave bruises on ankles, Rian snapped. Varen's eyes narrowed. You're making this difficult. Good, Rian said. Meanwhile, back at the apartment. Mira paced the living room. Tali peeked through the peephole every 2 minutes. Celine sat on the couch, hugging one of Myra's blankets, eyes fixed on the door. They called him in because of me, Celine whispered. They want me silenced. Mira knelt in front of her. Dad won't let them do anything. He always wins arguments. Tali nodded. He even wins when he's wrong. Celine gave a tiny, broken smile. But her fear didn't fade. The turn. Back in the admin room, Rian spoke slowly, choosing each word like a blade. If you return her to those men, I will make sure every worker on this station hears the truth. Every union board, every immigration channel, every news feed. You're threatening me, Varen said coldly. I'm warning you, Rian replied. People disappear in Dock 3. You know it. I know it. And now I have evidence. He tapped his wristband. A hologram projected. The footage Mira had stitched together. Celine telling her story in her quiet, trembling voice. It was already uploaded to public channels. Varen's eyes widened. You broadcasted this? No, Rian corrected. My daughter did. Varen slammed the terminal shut. Do you understand what chaos you're starting? The workers will riot with rumors like this. Truth isn't a rumor, Rian said. Varen took a long breath, then finally spoke. Fine. She will be placed under temporary protection. No removal. No forced return. But you take responsibility for her. Gladly, Rian said. A new kind of safety. When Rian walked back into the apartment, Celine stood immediately. What did they say? Her voice shaky. Rian exhaled, tired but victorious. You're under protection now. They can't take you. Not legally. Celine stared at him, stunned. You fought for me. Against the station. Rian shrugged lightly. They needed a reminder that humans don't stay silent. Celine's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. Tali cheered, jumping in circles. Mira hugged Celine tightly. For the first time since she escaped the lower decks, Celine felt something warm, something she barely recognized. Security. Rian set his tool bag down and looked at her. You're safe here, he said quietly. But this isn't the end. Celine nodded. I know. But it's the first time I want tomorrow to come. Night's cycle fell quietly over Helio Spindle. The lights dimmed. The walkways emptied. The storm clouds below glowed with soft blue fire. Inside the Holt apartment, it felt different. Warmer, calmer, almost like a home that had been waiting for one more person. Celine sat near the window, wrapped in the soft gray sweater Mira had insisted she keep. Her new shoes rested neatly beside the door. For the first time in years, she wasn't shaking from hunger or fear. Rian walked over and handed her a cup of warm tea. You should drink, he said. Celine nodded, watching the steam rise. I keep thinking today was a dream, she whispered. People like me, we don't get protection. You got it, Rian replied. And you'll keep it. Celine looked up at him. She didn't say thank you. She had said it too many times already, but her eyes held a quiet promise. I won't run anymore. Tali came out of the bedroom, dragging her blanket like a small comet. Celine, she said sleepily. If you stay, can you teach me the glowing song again? Celine smiled softly. Of course. Mira stepped out behind her. And can you help me fix the air filter tomorrow? You're better at it than Dad. Rian raised an eyebrow. Mira pretended not to notice. Celine laughed, a small, gentle sound full of surprise. I can help, she said. I'd like to help. The girls cheered and ran back to bed. Rian stood beside Celine, arms folded. They like you. Celine lowered her eyes. I'm not used to being liked. You will be, Rian said. For a moment, the two stood in quiet peace, the kind that comes only after surviving danger together. But peace never lasts. A soft chime echoed from the wall panel. Rian frowned. At this hour? Celine's markings glowed faintly with worry. He checked the message. A blinking symbol spun slowly, a communication from the outer Lyran embassy node. The official crest shimmered on the screen. Celine's breath caught. Her hands trembled. Rian opened the message. A calm Lyran voice spoke through the speaker. To any Lyran citizen currently on Helio Spindle. We have received reports of missing laborers, forced contracts, and unlawful detentions. If you are hearing this, know this. We are searching for you. You are not forgotten. Report your location. Assistance teams are approaching the orbital cities. Celine covered her mouth. Tears gathered in her eyes. Shock, hope, fear all mixed together. Your people, Rian said softly. They're looking for you. Celine shook her head slowly. They never search for individuals. If they are sending teams, then someone told them what's happening here. You think Drex's crimes spread farther than the lower decks? Rian asked. Celine nodded painfully. Many more? Not just me. Rian's expression hardened. Then we're not done. Celine stepped back from the screen. What if they want me to testify? What if Drex goes after anyone who speaks? What if he comes here again? Rian placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Then he'll find the Holt family waiting, he said. Not running. Celine's eyes glowed softly. You would stand against him again? I'd stand for anyone my daughters bring home, Rian said simply. But for you, I'd stand twice. Her breath trembled at his words. Tali peeked from the hallway. Is everything okay? Celine wiped her eyes and nodded. Yes, everything is changing, but in a good way. Rian looked at the embassy message still glowing on the wall. Tomorrow, he said, we decide what to do next. Celine exhaled slowly, letting the fear fall away, replaced by something stronger, something she thought she'd lost long ago. Courage. She turned toward the girl's bedroom. Good night, she whispered. Rian watched her go, the faint glow of her markings lighting the doorway. The screen behind him blinked again, another message. Unknown sender. Encrypted. Short. Sharp. We know she's with you. This isn't over. Rian's jaw tightened. No, he thought. This is where it begins.